So, Marley, I want to thank you for coming and speak to me. If you could tell me your major and where you're originally from.
Yes, my major is integrative studies with a concentration in social justice and human rights, and I'm minoring in economics. And I'm originally from DC, but I live in Silver Spring at the moment.
All right. And where did you study abroad to?
So in the spring of 2019, I was in Santiago, Chile from February, about the end of February until the beginning of July.
Okay. And so you're a fellow Global Gateway alum. We love to hear it. We love to hear it.
In the first year, yes, we love it.
So what spurred you to travel? Like what made you think freshman year, I need to get out the States? And what made you pick Chile?
Yeah, so I'm Afro-Latina. My mom is from Mexico, and my dad is African-American. And so in middle school, high school, just growing up in my life, I didn't really speak Spanish in the household, but I've always been interested in the culture and in the people. And so I always made sure to take the language, take the culture courses. And even at Mason, in my first semester, I took a Spanish course. But I remember being like in my senior year, I was in yearbook. I was in the executive staff for yearbook. And I remember like all of us applying to college apps and kind of talking about schools and stuff like that. And I remember getting into Mason kind of early. And then the Global Gateway thing was announced to me just in my email. I just saw it randomly and I thought, I was kind of between maybe three schools. I was between Mason, University of Rochester, and University of Washington. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go. Those are all three different places. But I saw that study abroad opportunity, and I remember my mom just saying to me always how she wished that was something that she was able to do. And anytime that alumni from my high school would come back that did study abroad, they always talk about just how amazing the experience was. And just growing up, I've always known that I was definitely a social butterfly. I knew I always wanted to let my wings flap at some point. I've always wanted to leave the nest, and so
Let the wings fly.
At 18, and it was honestly the best decision ever. It's what made me come to Mason. Once I got accepted into the program as well and saw how much support Global Gateway gave me as well, it was just kind of a no-brainer. It seemed like, so a lot of decisions behind it, but such a great decision. Did not regret anything from that trip.
I would hope not. I actually studied in Ireland myself, but I didn't know a couple people that did go to Chile too. So they really loved it down there. So I'm like, if I go to South America, I know what I'm hitting up first.
Okay, and I know where I'm going next.
Okay. And why do you think a lot of students, particularly people of color students, don't typically study abroad as much, in your opinion?
When I would tell people, or like leading up to, and I would tell people that that's what I'm doing, or after the fact, like, yeah, I actually just got back from Chile, the reactions, and even while I was there, the reactions were always just, wow, that's crazy. I could never, I can't imagine, you're so lucky. And it's like, but guys, the opportunities are out there. The ability for you to do that is out there. Even during a pandemic, it's still out there. I'm talking about going to Costa Rica soon. So through another like Mason study abroad program. But to answer your question, I genuinely feel like I don't want to contribute it all to fear. I think also part of it is lack of just perspective, honestly, on the situation. A lot of people think it's a lot harder than it actually is. Don't get me wrong, I understand that for some, maybe getting a passport might be difficult, or getting all the documentation. That part can be difficult. I remember the visa process was a bit long and lengthy and complex. But once you kind of get through those bureaucratic loopholes and those legal loopholes, the opportunities are there, especially once you get there to really experience things. It's just a matter of being able to talk to people and being a people person, whether even if you know the native language or not half the time. And so I just think a lot of people get apprehensive about all the work that goes into it. They kind of only want to go to places that they've seen other people go to. They don't really see the possibilities because they feel like it's a lot of work. And I get it. Finances also is a big factor too for a lot of people.
Absolutely.
But I think for the Black community as a whole, it's just a matter of fear of anything kind of crazy happening, and being in a space where, you're not going to know the next person. You don't really know what could happen to you. And I get that. I think it's a valid fear that all people of color genuinely have. But definitely there's just the lack of understanding of all the resources and the help that's out there for you to be able to do it.
I see. Now, do you think Mason, when you were speaking about that, just the lack of fear and then accessibility to resources that would help them get to where they need to go, do you think Mason could do better, particularly since they're committing to being a more diverse and making sure that people of color students feel heard? Do you think they can make things like they could do more programs to help students travel abroad?
Yeah, I think, when we were back on campus and in person, don't get me wrong, Global Gateway does a great job of, having their, I don't really know what the people that work there are, like the students that work in the office, but the students that do, they come around to the University 100 courses, and they come around to the 100 and 200 level, or the Mason required courses, and talk about study abroad and kind of stuff like that. But I don't really feel like they're sending people that really are going to be able to appeal to who are in those classrooms, you know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of times I just remember seeing a lot of, white women, or just like people that just didn't study what I studied, what they went there for even was just not even really my interest. And I get that everybody is their own person, but Mason is comprised of so many different kinds of people. And that's the commitment that they've made. People come from so many different walks of life at our school, all different classes, all different socioeconomic statuses, gender, sexuality, race, all that stuff. We're all so different. But and I think that the approach to how they market study abroad needs to be catered to that. I think right now it's just being catered in a very unilateral one kind of approach, and kind of leaving it up to the discretion of the people that are coming to talk to us. But I think that they instead need to do a better job of making sure that what the information that they're sharing, how they're making it clear to people that this is really possible for you. They don't do a good job of really making that clear to everyone. It's only like some people get the message. Because I don't even really feel like, yeah, there are some programs that interest me, but it's like you guys aren't really making it seem like it's something that really I should do. You know what I mean? I don't think I'll explain. If that makes sense, that's what I'm trying to say. I also think that advisors could do a better job of encouraging study abroad. I think a lot of times they're so focused on getting us in and getting us out. And I guess that's a lot of people's concern. We want to get in and be done in 4 years or less for some people, but some people don't want to some people aren't under that kind of pressure. Some people maybe would feel get a lot more, or feel a lot more of a reward from being able to study abroad. So I also think that if Mason could encourage advisors to promote study abroad opportunities a little bit better as well.
Okay, all right. Thank you for these responses. Like, this is like really a lot to think about too, because the purpose of me creating this show is not only get more students and minority students at Mason interested in study abroad, but to make sure they feel they have a voice in like the world collective.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like they do, and that's a problem, because we're just as much a part of it as anybody else.
Definitely.
So, what was the favorite part? Like, what was the best part about Chile?
That's such a hard question. Okay, can I get three? Just three top.
I will take three. I'll take three.
Okay. I would definitely say my host family was the best. My entire host experience. I had a great. I mean, she was an older woman. Her kids were older, like in their 30s or whatever. They had kids. But I mean, that lady fed me. Like I come from like a household where I'm like, really independent. I kind of do things on my own. And over there, like, that's not a thing. Your mom helps you. She packs your lunch. She makes your dinner. Like, if she goes out of town, she makes sure your meals are frozen and that okay, at this time, take it out and preheat it. And, so that whole experience, I mean, it was great. I loved it. I would say the second thing would definitely just have to be this finding like a study abroad group of people. So yeah, my university provided us with like an international students club, which was amazing. I made so many great friends from that. But also Facebook is big out there, of course. So there was a Facebook group called International Students of Santiago, and they would kind of band together like under this one guy, Diego, he's a chef, and he would like organize these phenomenal trips to like anywhere you could think of in Chile, just really opening our eyes to like what Chile is, not just Santiago. Just, it's a long country. There's all these different ecosystems, all these different temperatures. It's crazy there. I love it. And then I would just say the last thing would be the traveling I did on my own independently. I feel like that gave me a lot of grit and a lot of humility, because, when you're not under a group and you're really on your own, you're an American and you're a woman and you're Black, it's you get to really see things, differently, not necessarily negative or necessarily positive, but it was definitely a different experience being in Chile. My reaction, like people's reactions to me, or how they come to understand me as an individual, just seeing how I move. But I would say all that, all in all. And of course, just the people I met. I think that is just the icing on the cake, cherry on top, which is of all the best things that were there for me.
Okay. And so speaking on that as your identity, because you part of your identity is being a Black woman, do you think studying abroad just gave you more perspective to add on to and how you see things and how you value things?
Yes. I think it kind of, I think a lot of times being in America, being in Western culture, it can be really draining to be a Black woman, to be what people are coming to know and understand as a group of individuals who are very oppressed, who are disrespected, who are threatened, who are put in jeopardy, who are not safe, who are not protected. You know, that's who we are in America. You know, after Breonna Taylor, Sandra Bland, you know, there are those that are not going to see it that way, but those that do, they know exactly what I'm talking about, and it's becoming a lot more of common knowledge of the status of Black women in Western culture, and specifically in the US. And I think when you go to another country, even when it's a country that might like have inherently racist practices, yes, they don't have the history of slavery per se, but some do in their own way, in a very niche way. Like I've heard about people's experiences in places like Greece and other European countries, but I'm going to speak on my experience in Chile. And for me, I would really say it really instilled a lot of, I don't want, yes, confidence, but like love in myself almost, and being able to see myself in a different surrounding with people reacting to me in a different way. It's almost like, okay, like, you know, America, the US, like this isn't all that there is for me. Do you know what I mean? I feel like it's a country where even though there are you know, white Chileans, you know, Chileans that immigrated from Germany or Italy, but are, you know, their nationality or their culture might be Chilean. There are also mad people of color there. There are plenty of people of color there in Chile as well. And so being around them and getting to experience people that are native to that country as well, it really does go to show that, like, you know, people of color and just being Black as a whole, like this is what's right. And if that makes sense, I don't know where I'm trying to go with this, but it's like it instills some type of confidence in you, and it instills like okay, like I'm Black and that's okay, because other people see that I'm Black and they're not, you know, being racist towards me or shunning me or treating me differently. Like there is a different way to be. That's what I'm trying to say. It's like it shows you that hopeful insightfulness, that optimism that like Black Lives Matter talks about, that, you know, the media talks about, that we're trying to get to. It shows you that it can be like that by being in another country. I'm not saying that they're a country completely free of racism, but from my experience, it wasn't like I experienced anything that I compared to the microaggressions and the disrespect that I sometimes encounter here in the U.S.
Absolutely, absolutely. I see what you mean. Now, if you can give any advice to any person of color that's trying to study abroad at Mason and they're debating whether or not to go to, what essential advice would you give them?
I figured you would ask a question like this, and I don't know why I didn't kind of like think about what my answer would be. I
put you on the spot. I'm sorry.
It's okay. Ooh. When you're thinking about, no. Okay, I just thought this was apply to all Black people. When you're thinking about like packing your stuff and thinking about what you're gonna bring there, really think about, like, I would say honestly, confidently, and I dealt with seasons there. Like I dealt with the transition from summer to practically like fall, like which is exactly what happened here. Like this stage that we're in right now, it's kind of chilly, even colder there. Like, you know, we were in the mountains up there, so it was a bit cold. But really think about like 20 solid pieces that you need, 20 solid pieces of clothes that you could use honestly year round. And they could be a mix of seasons, but seriously guys, like going somewhere for 6 to 7 months, it really makes you think about the value of stuff that you need and like what you really need to have. Because a lot of times when you go to these places, yes, people are, you know, they've got the the sauce and the drip and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, don't really go out there thinking that that's what you're going to be going out there for. I would say really think about like your solid things that you'll need, because I'm telling you, you're going to experience an entire different like shopping and retail economic experience being in that country. So that'd be a good piece of advice I would give, I think.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Marley, I want to thank you for speaking with me. This was great. Okay. I really appreciate you. Good luck with midterms. Study
Thank you so
hard.
much.
Thank you.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.